Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Oh, my camera's a little bit off center. There we go. Thank you guys for joining me today. I'm very happy to be here. I was out in the woods all weekend, and it's nice to be back in air conditioning and not hiking miles, carrying a heavy pack. So thank you guys for joining me. Today, we're going to be talking about the top 10 films that revolutionized sound design, that really set like a new benchmark level for sound in film. And it's kind of a different stream. Like, we're not going to be talking about techniques, you know, of sound editing or mixing or anything like that. It's really just going to be focused on kind of these touchstone films that I feel really kind of changed the trajectory of sound design in film. So we're going to go all the way back to the 1930s. But before we do that, I don't really have sponsors, but, you know, it's like Sesame Street and all that, brought to you by the letter A. They did that. I like to just give shout outs at the beginning of the stream and at the end. So first of all, shout out to all the channel members. You can see we've got them in the chat here. Kevin just got back from a feature on location shoot. We got Mike. We got Post Audio for Media, Borgia. So, and other channel members, thank you guys so much for your support. This is our members only Discord. So if you join the channel, which may not be available in your country, you can get access to this members only Discord where we talk about all kinds of cool stuff. And so, yeah, this has been really great to kind of check throughout the day, just to keep in touch with people and discuss. So that's the first thing, is like, members, thank you guys so much. Hill Post Media, anybody who, you know, has joined the channel or even just watch videos, subscribed, all that. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the ones who keep this channel going. And then the other thing is, Cedar actually offered me an affiliate link. So you guys know I'm all about Cedar DNS1. You're actually listening to Cedar DNS1 right now, which I have on my mic input. So if you're looking for like real-time noise reduction, it's tough to beat Cedar. Obviously, there's other options for Audio Suite, but Cedar, like, I've been using this since, gosh, 2008, and it's still, to me, the top dog in broadband noise reduction. And then I have to bump my own plugins too. I've got AutoComp, which has been selling pretty good, and then the DXB channel strip. AutoComp is actually another thing you're listening to right now. This is an automatic compressor that can limit, it's really meant for dialogue, but I've tested this on bass guitar, full mixes, and this is an automatic leveling compressor. So you can check out details for this on my website. Just click the link in the description and, you know, read all about it. So this is for Windows and PC, Pro Tools, Adobe Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, Cubase, you know, all kinds, basically everything. So yeah, that's the business out of the way. Now let's talk about what we're here for, which is the top 10 kind of revolutionary sound design films. And as always in the chat, if you guys have, you know, arguments like, I don't know about that one, or what about this, just drop them in the chat, drop a comment, because this is all just opinion. You know, it's like my thoughts on the top 10 are going to be way different from yours. And I love to hear what people think about different movies and kind of how they've changed the, I don't want to say change the game. Game changer is like one of those, you know, 2020 words that I just, I don't like, but they revolutionized what we do. So the first is kind of a, it's not what you would think as a typical sound design film, but I have kids, and so you watch Disney movies and stuff, and I watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, not dwarves, dwarfs with an F. And, you know, sometimes as parents, you kind of like are watching the movie and then you kind of like, whatever, you look at your phone or you talk to your spouse, do chores around the house. Snow White, I was actually, you know what? I'm going to watch this. From 1937, so it's really right at the cusp of talkies, of, you know, synchronized audio films. And so I was like, you know what? I'm really going to study this while the kids enjoy it. It's one of their favorite movies. They're 6, so it's like, you know, perfect for them. And I was blown away by the sound. Like, consider the limited technology. It's a mono mix. You know, they're dealing with tape, a lot of tape and preamp noise. They're dealing with not having a lot of tracks available, really limited by technology. But the choices they made in Snow White were so cool and revolutionary. Like the songs when Snow White is singing and she sings into the well and her voice comes back to her is really, I mean, I can just imagine, like, it's giving me goosebumps right now thinking about it. I can imagine being in the theater, you know, it's like hot or cold or whatever, whenever the season it came out, and you go into this quiet room and you see the color of this animation that they spent years working on, and you hear all the little audio details that they added. And what's really cool about Snow White is they don't have a lot of Foley. It's a lot of like voices and music, but when they decide to do something with the sound, either with the vocals while they're singing or the sound effects when the dwarves are walking quietly and it's that same scrunch, scrunch, scrunch for every footstep, it's just, you can tell they put a lot of care into the sound choices and the mix in the 1930s, you know, so long ago. So if you want to study a film for sound design, go back to the 30s, watch Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And it's a great movie. It's, in my opinion, one of the best movies of all time, considering the entire history of cinema. And for sound design, it's really good to study because, you know, it's like early stuff, and the choices they made were just perfect. It's great for kids, adults loved Snow White when it came out. They went back to watch it a second time in the theater. So, yeah, there was no, well, so I was there no tape maybe there's no tape in 1937. I would assume that they recorded some of the sound on tape, but maybe, I mean, I don't know. I haven't studied like early technology. So yeah, maybe they used wire recordings. I don't know. But yeah, it's an amazing film to study. So that's the first one. We're going to go through these in chronological order. So it's not like the top, you know, number one, but it's the first real like, whoa, you know, and kind of runners up in that time period. Cinderella has some really good sequences when she's cleaning the floor. And she harmonizes with herself. The bubbles come out and she harmonizes with herself. Like, that is a really cool sequence. There's sequences in Dumbo, the terrifying pink elephant scene. My goodness, giving me nightmares at the age of 39. Yeah, that's some trippy stuff. But Snow White, you know, 1937, check it out. So next one on the list is, and I've got some like bullet points here, but yeah, you guys don't need to see them. I'll keep an eye on the chat maybe. Yeah, we can do this. And, ooh, maybe I'll throw some plugins up so you guys can see the chain working. This might be kind of cool. Do you want to see Pro Q? You might want to see Pro Q. Ooh, too big. Okay, there. Something to look at, you know, other than my ugly mug. Okay, so second on the list is, anybody want to guess? We started in the 30s, now we're going to go to the 40s. So this is a film that is considered to be a film school in itself. Very popular movie to talk about in film college, where they use film school, where they use words like diegetic, or source music as we call it, for working pros. It is 1941, Citizen Kane, Orson Welles. Great film to study for sound design. So why is Citizen Kane so unique? Well, first of all, Orson Welles came from a radio background. So he understood, you know, how to orchestrate things for sonic clarity, to tell a story with sound. And Citizen Kane, just, you can study the whole movie for, you know, filmmaking purposes, but for sound design purposes, a couple things to check out with Citizen Kane. First is Bernard Herrmann's musical score, or Hermann, depending how German you are. It is orchestrated around the dialogue. It's not like he decided to just compose something that fit, the picture or fit the emotional mood. He actually wrote the music to fit around the dialogue. The other thing, and this is going to get into more of like mixing stuff, the actors, a lot of them came from radio. So when they talk, they enunciate. They're used to people only being able to hear their voice. So unlike some of the actors of today who just mumble like that, like they are enunciating, they're speaking very clearly, they're projecting. So you can hear every word. It's very clear. This is probably also, coming from Orson Welles' radio background, like focusing in on what, they sound like. There's some really interesting uses of reverb to express like space, emotional space or distance. And the ambient sounds are also worth looking at. The other thing is there's sequences where there's a lot of quick cuts and the picture moves very fast, but the sound actually glues everything together. The sound is like consistent through. So there's one sequence where, I don't remember exactly where, but it's probably towards the beginning. There's like a bunch of quick cuts, and visually it's like, whoa, there's a lot going on, but what you hear is Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And that sound kind of glues all the cuts together. So that's a really good one to look at for filmmaking in general, but also specifically sound design. So Citizen Kane, 1941, if you haven't seen it, check it out. You probably have, though, if you're working in film. So let's just look at comments real quick and see if we have any. Let's see, talking about Idaho. So Richard says no tape in 1937. I'll have to look that up. I believe you 100%. It's just something I haven't thought about. But yeah, tape came later. It was not the earliest recording medium. I think wire actually might have been. There's some old wire recordings that I have like archival of, and they sound really interesting. So, okay, next on the list, we're doing 10 films. And like I said before, if you have any, we're kind of going chronologically. So we started in the 30s, 40s, next one's going to be in the 60s. 50s had good films for sound. I really like, I think 12 Angry Men. Let me look that up. I think that's from the 50s. Yeah, 1957. But I had to keep it to 10. So we're skipping the 50s. We're going to the 60s. But if you have one you want to talk about, just let me know. So in 1968, a movie came out called 2001, A Space Odyssey. What was interesting about that film, which has been a while since I've seen it, I need to rewatch it. So the pacing of 2001 is a little slower than other films. And it was something that when it came out, I think like the studio is concerned about, like, are people really going to sit through some of these sequences? But the interesting thing about 2001 is the use of silence. And so in a lot of direction you get when you're working on a film, if you're working on a sci-fi thing in space, there's that initial conversation of, well, there's no sound in space. Do we want to add exterior space shots or like a ship going by? And 2001 went realistic with it. There's no sound in space. So it really helped kind of anchor the film in that silence. And silence is used to build tension. So instead of using like string, low string pad or dissonance in the music to build tension, silence is being used. And that sets the stage for another film we're going to talk about later towards the end of the stream, more recently. But to use that silence as a way to build tension and tell the story, instead of telling the story with sound, telling the story with the absence of sound, that's pretty revolutionary. And then, of course, you have the classical music. you know, there's, I think, no, Clockwork Orange is another one. I mean, they're both Kubrick films, but there's, you know, like pre-recorded classical music used as the score. And this music has been now associated with, you know, space, basically. Like you hear, oh gosh, there's so many. I mean, obviously there's ones where, let me just look up all the list of music used. Okay, so there's Requiem for Soprano. There's also Sprach Zarathustra by Richard Strauss. Those pieces of music have become tied to like planets and space, and you know, it's just really, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool how a movie can connect to things like that. So, oh, and then Daisy Bell. Daisy Bell is one of my, like, it's, I will sing Daisy Bell. Sometimes I'll be like washing dishes. Yeah, Holst Planets is another one. And then like, it's just really cool. It's a great film to check out for sound. And then, yeah, there's, interesting. Many non-English language versions of the film do not use the song Daisy. In the French soundtrack, Hal sings the French folk song Au clair de lune while being disconnected. That is, in the German version, Hal sings the children's song Hörnchen Klein, Little Johnny. In the Italian version, Hal sings Giro Giro Tondo, Ring a Ring of Roses. That's great. I didn't know that. That's cool. So yeah, Space Odyssey, 2001 Space Odyssey is great. So yeah, good for sound design, good for music, classical music, and just a great one to check out. So we've gone from the 30s to the 40s to the 60s. I am wondering if you guys can guess what's going to be next. We're going to the 70s. We're talking about sound, and specifically films that revolutionized sound design. So anybody want to venture a guess what might be next on the list for the 1970s? I'm just going to take a breather and wait for 10 people to chime in because it's a very obvious option. Yeah. And I'm also going to go through some chat here. Walter Murch created a version of Orson Welles' Touch of Evil. Oh, these are good guesses. So Kevin has it correct. It is Star Wars. But the conversation is a great one. Really good film for sound. Apocalypse Now may or may not be on the list, but you know, it happened a little bit later than Star Wars. Star Wars was 1977. So unfortunately, let's talk about Star Wars. And we're not going to talk about the adulterated Star Wars, the ones that you're only allowed to buy now. I'm talking about the bootleg original Star Wars without all the crazy CGI stuff added. The good Star Wars, the Star Wars I grew up with as a kid on VHS that I didn't wear out because I preferred Star Trek. I still prefer Star Trek, but we can't talk about sound design without talking about the GOAT, which is Ben Burtt, and Star Wars, and why. So instead of talking about the nerdy parts of Star Wars and all the people who are just going to like, you know, gush over the terrible writing and wooden acting and cliched choices, like from a story, I'm gonna crap on Star Wars for a little bit. Terrible writing, so obnoxious. Like the actors' performances are just stiff and unbelievable, and there's just a lot that I don't like about Star Wars. But the music is great, and the sound effects and sound design are, they like, I mean, wow. You know, like you associate the sound with the film, and really Star Wars was probably the first film to use sonic branding. Like when you hear a lightsaber sound, you think Star Wars. When you hear a TIE fighter, you think Star Wars. Wookiee, when you hear a Wookiee, or C-3PO's voice, or R2-D2, like there's so many iconic sounds that are part of the brand of Star Wars. So much so that they are using them in current iterations of Star Wars, you know, some 50 years, 40 whatever year, I'm terrible at math. These sounds are so iconic, they're being used today. Unfortunately, they're also using the terrible writing and wooden acting that Star Wars is known for, but maybe that's a part of the brand too. Maybe you just want to have people mail in their performances, and have writing that doesn't make you think, and you can just sit there drinking your 64-ounce Mountain Dew and eating popcorn in your mom's basement, and you can just buy all the figurines and stuff like that and just feed into this corporate beast. That's all fine. Sound design it's like kind of what makes that, and the music are what makes Star Wars work, because the sound design and music are so good. You can forgive the terrible writing, you can forgive the terrible acting, you can forgive all the groan, eye roll. Oh, really? That's what's going to happen now in the story? He's going to betray them? Or what are these teddy bears running around? You know, they defeated the Imperial forces. That totally makes sense. You can forgive the terrible stormtrooper accuracy, even though they've had a long time to practice. And it's fine. You know, like whatever. You got cool sounds, so it doesn't really matter. The sounds are that good. They make up for all of the failures of Star Wars, and really probably the sound is what made it successful. The sound and the music. If you took that stuff away and threw in some, you know, just garbage sound effects, like they would have gone the way of Barbarella, you know? So kudos to Ben Burtt. The sounds used in it are just so iconic and good. Like you instantly recognize them even faster than music. So really set the bar pretty high for sound, and the mix is really good. You know, like the Dolby EX mix is really good. The 6.1 really good. The ADR is not that great, but like Darth Vader's voice, what a casting choice, you know, to get James Earl Jones to revoice Darth Vader. Performance is probably the best of all of the characters, you know. I mean, I like Harrison Ford, but even his stuff, like, yeah. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about that. So, yeah, Star Wars 1977, very revolutionary. Not one of my favorite films. Really not my favorite franchise. I love to make fun of it because, and I'm going to keep going off just for a little bit because it's a relevant topic. So, I'm a Star Trek guy. I grew up watching the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, which is probably the best of the bunch. Voyager was pretty good. Didn't watch the other ones, Enterprise, Discovery, Lower Decks, all like, to me, after Voyager, like, I don't want to really care about any of that stuff. Voyager is where Star Trek ended for me. But to compare Star Trek and Star Wars, to me, Star Wars is like the I don't want to get my channel in trouble. The Star Trek deals with moral, ethical, cultural issues. And it started with the original series. They wrapped this sci-fi show around pretty deep stuff. Like, it made you think. City on the Edge of Forever, Space Seed, which led to Wrath of Khan, even some of the campier ones like Trouble with Tribbles. Okay, maybe not that one, but a lot of the original episodes made you think about like, oh, that's like, you know, communism, or that's like the civil rights struggles that were going on in the 60s. And yeah, they're not like high level intellectual problems to think about, but they're at least societal problems and issues that they could kind of like wrap in the sci-fi and present it to people like, hey, maybe you think about this. So Greg Roddenberry, who created the show, and you know, Desilu Productions, you know, Lucy, she was the one who made it to where Star Trek could be created. They really kind of like, it's a cultural touchstone for me because 60s was very volatile, and it continued to make people think up until Voyager, not so much, but Deep Space Nine definitely. Like, they were all like, I didn't really think about the Bajorans, you know, maybe that's kind of like some stuff going on in the, you know, in like Israel or whatever. Like, you can draw comparisons. So Star Trek, you know, makes you think, good sci-fi. Star Wars is like, what? I don't have to think at all. I can literally remove my brain from my head, throw it in the trash, and I'm going to have the exact same experience. There's nothing to think about. In fact, if I do think while I'm watching this, I'm going to have a bad time. I'm going to be questioning a lot of stuff. And when Star Wars ends, when any of them end, what are you left with? You're left with, wow, that's a story I've seen told 1,000 times. But the sound was really good, and the music was good, and the production value was good. It doesn't make you think. It's just like, it's like cotton candy for your brain. Whereas Star Trek is like, you know, maybe like a beef Wellington or a 3-course meal, you know? So that's my dig on Star Wars and why I think Star Trek, why I know Star Trek is better and will always be better than Star Wars, is because, you know, it's really meant to make you think and kind of question stuff. At least the ones the original, the good, the canon ones are make you do that. And then Star Wars is just like, it's just pop fluff, really. So that was a very long diatribe, and I apologize for that. Next, we got, some people guessed Apocalypse Now for the 70s, and that is definitely where we're going next. So, yeah, that is next on our list. Apocalypse Now, 1979. The helicopters, the whoop, 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 you know, and that is a interesting use of a theme. Instead of a musical theme, it's a sound design theme. So that, and also the fact, just the use of surround sound was a very technologically revolutionary movie with a lot of its own problems on the production side of things, but the sound design really, it not only elevated the film because of the tone of it, but because, I think, kind of because of the troubled production and the issues that they had and kind of the chaos of the film, the sound design really ties all that together to this kind of menage of like what war would sound like and what it would feel like. Not so much like the gunfire and the shootouts, but like just the kind of background of war, I guess, or like combat is a short period of time. If you're in country or you're deployed, there's a lot of waiting time, there's a lot of downtime, and so there's a lot of human element to the military. And I feel like, especially with Vietnam being somewhat fresh, you know, 1979, they did a really good job of capturing the fog of war, basically, you know. And yeah, and Apocalypse Now was it wasn't the first film to utilize 5.1, but it was like the most probably revolutionary, because multi-channel audio goes way back to like Fantasia. So yeah, that is it's great. It's really like, it's so good that even though it's an older film, it still stands up. It's worth watching. All the sounds are such high quality that it stands the test of time. And really, most of these films on the list do that. They are timeless films that you can watch now and still get something, you know, learn something from it. So Apocalypse Now, 1979, that's number 5. So we're halfway through. Probably a good time to take a little break and go through some comments. Let's see. Yeah, somebody says, Mark says The Conversation. That's a really good honorable mention. Let's see. Do you like the new show Brave New Worlds? I don't have a lot of time to watch stuff, so I haven't watched. When I watch Star Trek again, it's probably going to be going back to like The Next Generation, just because I love Picard. I haven't seen Picard. I don't know much about it. So Alexander says the new Star Wars and this new Star Wars series Andor, written by Tony Gilroy, is quite good. That's good. It's good to hear that they have maybe focused a little bit more on story. And then Kevin says all the tech on Star Trek has come true, except transporters and warp drive, and they're actually developing those now. Yeah, I love Star Trek. Probably, and this is the last I'll talk about Star Trek, because I could do an entire like 2 or 3 hour stream on it. My favorite Star Trek movie is probably the best, what most people consider the best, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And it's because of the characters. Khan is such a great bad guy, and he's so like over the top Shakespearean, you know, very full of himself, very pompous, but like the way he carries himself and the confidence he has is just like, it's perfect for a villain. And he's also dynamic. One thing I don't like about current movies is everybody talk, well, not everybody, most people talk in a very gravelly, quiet voice. They're like, you know, tough guys kind of talk like this. Like, no, watch Wrath of Khan. Does he do that? No, he's dynamic. Sometimes he's, you know, very like soft-spoken, and there's a threat behind the softness. Resonates, and he projects, and he gets loud. There's a dynamic to his voice that's not just all minus 60 dB gravel talking for like the entire film. And I really detest that. There's some great movies where the actors do that. Fury Road, I love Mad Max, like the whole Mad Max. I haven't seen Furiosa, but the first 3 and then Fury Road were like really good, you know? But Tom Hardy's Mad Max is like just grunting and like talking in like such a low voice that they basically had to ADR all his lines. So that's a modern thing. Like, leading men don't project. They don't speak up. They don't enunciate. They have mushy, whispery. To them, that's strong. To be that soft-spoken, quiet guy. No. Use your voice as an instrument. So Khan did that great in Wrath of Khan, Star Wars 2. So sorry about that. I'm so sorry about all the Star Trek stuff. I'm going to get off it right now. Okay. So, yes. Brandon says, growing up, I never we're going back to Star Trek. Growing up, I never watched Star Trek, but I did watch Star Trek Discovery a few years ago. Ooh, that's fine, but maybe try the real Star Treks. Doctor Who. Yeah, my wife watches Doctor Who. She's like all about it, and I've kind of like looked at it every once in a while, and it seems okay. It's very British. So yeah, okay. So that was a nice little break. We got, it's 8:30 here, so I need to get through the last 5 films on my top 10 list. So just to recap what we've been through so far: Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, 1937, Citizen Kane, 1941, 2001: A Space Odyssey, which wasn't 2001, it was 1968, Star Wars, 1977, kind of spent a lot of time digging on Star Wars, which I'm proud of, and then Apocalypse Now, 1979. So we're halfway through the list. Now we're going to get to what I would consider to be the modern era of films, starting in the 1990s. So we're going into the 90s. The first one is 1993, Dinosaurs, Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park, from a sound design perspective, what did it do that was so great? There's a ton of great sound design in Jurassic Park. Let's see, let me just look up some of the, so most of you know that Gary Rydstrom did the sound design for Jurassic Park. And what it did, you have these animals that nobody knows what they sound like. And so the whole crew ended up using a lot of animal sounds, but they combined them with some unexpected things. Like, for example, the velociraptors. There's some really good, I forget who did they actually interviewed him and he talks about like what sounds were used for the different dinosaurs. But they combined organic and inorganic elements to make the dinosaurs sound scary and interesting. For the T-Rex, which is kind of the hero of the film, I would guess, the first one, they basically had a limited amount of this baby elephant vocalization. I think it might have only been one recording of it, making this a very specific sound. So instead of having like 10 different takes, they had like one take. And you can hear them pitch it up and down in the different moments and shorten it and kind of tweak it. So you don't have to have a wide variety of sounds to make an iconic sound design piece. And that sound has been used throughout the entire thing. Even Camp Cretaceous, which is a show my kids have watched, I can hear there's that original T-Rex sound, you know? So really good film for doing monster vocals, basically. The dinosaurs are monsters. It's a creature feature. And then the other thing I really like about Jurassic Park, which I have seen so many times, it was the first film I saw where it made me want to work on movies. And I was like 7 or 8 years old. We went to go see it in Tucson, Arizona, and we walked to the theater, and it was the summertime, monsoon season, in a downpour, with lightning going all over. And so we got into the theater and we're like soaked, me and my family. And my dad he's a tall guy. He's like 6'7". And when the raptor jumped up to get Ellie, I think her name is, and she's like in the HVAC vent, you know, and they're trying to escape towards the end of the film, and the raptor jumps up and tries to grab her. He jumped out of his seat. The 6'7" dude jumped like 2 feet out of his chair. So that was a big moment. And then obviously the T-Rex attack. Since we had walked in the thunderstorm, there's no music for the T-Rex. It's raining. You can hear it like grabbing onto the unpowered electrical fence, and you can hear the wires snapping. You can hear the rain, the different textures of rain on different surfaces. And then of course the footsteps, the boom boom of the footsteps, like it's all just woo, you know, that like really over the top, great. And the music is great too, but the sound design and the use of silence in it and the creature sounds are just great to study. Yeah. This is funny. Mark says, this is a Unix system. I know this. Yeah. And you had the Elite Haxer stuff going on with the girl. So it was, yeah, it's really a great one to check out for just, I mean, also the use of like the animatronics and practical effects is pretty cool. Like the CGI in that one still sort of stands the test of time. Some of it looks a little janky, but because they mixed it so well with the animatronics and the practical effects, it's one of those films that's just going to be timeless. Like it's not like Shrek where you can really see, or Toy Story, you know, where it's like, ooh, you know, that's kind of dated. But yeah, the sound design is really, really good. So that was 1993. Number 7 on our list is, do I want you guys to guess this one? So we've gone from 93. So 1998 and 1999 are probably my two, like the top 2 years, or maybe the number one 2-year period of films for me. There's so many movies that came out then that I love. And it's probably also tied in with my age. You know, I was like 13, 14. Yeah, 14. Yeah, 13, 14. And so that age was like, we had malls, we had movie theaters. I went to go see movies with my friends when I had money to do that. So Fight Club, you know, Matrix, Saving Private Ryan, There, throw out other 98, 99 films. There's so many that happen in that 2-year period that are just like peak to me of cinema. 98, 99. So number 7 on the list is Saving Private Ryan. It's hard to imagine that it came out in 1998 because it's such a great, timeless movie about World War II. And the first, I think 10 minutes, 15 minutes or something like that, where it's, the D-Day going on the beach. I cannot imagine how long it took them to do the sound edit and mix for that. But the bullets whizzing by, the going underwater and back up again, the chaos on the beach, the Bangalores, there's so many good moments in there, like the flamethrower coming out of the concrete bunker and firing positions, and then the kind of lull at the end, the silence, and it's a beautiful view, or whatever he says, beautiful sight maybe, and Tom Hanks looks up and he says, yes it is, and you see like all the ships landing. It's just a great study for weapons and perspective, and there's no music. So that, to me, like, the whole film is good. There's some other good moments later with the tank. The tank is a really good, that's like close to the end. Yeah, the tank, like you can hear the tank. It's almost like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, where you hear the squeak, and the rumble of the tracks, and there's this like building tension coming, and then, it erupts into chaos. So it's a obvious choice for a movie that got sound design right and kind of changed things a little bit, but I have to mention it. It's so good. Yeah, so that's number 7, Saving Private Ryan, 1998. We're going to go 1 year later to 1999. The Matrix, really good movie for sound design. So what are some cool things about The Matrix? There's a good mix of, the digital stretching effect is really cool. The Matrix effect. And there's another video of them talking about how they made it and the elements that were used. But the fact that the Matrix blends kind of this digital world with the real world, and the difference in how those worlds sound. Like the digital world is more glassy and polished, and then so the Matrix has that sound to it. But then the real world with Neo and Morpheus and their ship and the pods and everything is way more like gritty, dark, actually kind of low tech sounding, interestingly enough. So the squids obviously sound more sci-fi modern, but the other parts of the world, of the real world, have this kind of like broken down sound to them. And there's the bullet time sound design, there's the music, the industrial kind of, it's a little dated now, like when you hear the music late 90s, but still, it's like kind of like a time capsule of that era. And then the Foley's really good. There's a lot of weapons. It's just a really good kind of gritty sci-fi sound, almost like Alien. Like Alien definitely has its own sound. It's more analog sound. A lot of people reference Alien as like a good sound design film, and I'm trying to think what that could have kicked off. It's hard to pick just 10 because there's a lot of good movies. So Matrix is number 8. Really good, just good film in general. And yeah, so that's number 8. Oh yeah, and then Mr. Smith went on to play Elrond. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so number 9 on our list is WALL-E, 2008. So we've skipped from the 90s to 2000s, and WALL-E. Why did I pick WALL-E? Again, I have kids, so I end up watching a lot of kid movies, but I actually saw WALL-E when it came out. In the first, I would say, 15 minutes or so where we're just following Wally around in this broken, trashy earth that he's tasked with cleaning up, there is no dialogue. It's the whole thing is told through sound. And if you've ever worked on an animated show, the sound is so crucial to the success of the animation. And there's no dialogue. And there's some music, but it's like a lot of sound design. So it's another Ben Burtt project. And the cool thing about Ben Burtt is he uses his voice in a lot of his sound design. And he did the same thing with Wall-E. So that, like, using his voice to give character to Wall-E as the, you know, the protagonist, the main character of this film, is great. You know, when you hear Wall-E say, whoa, that's Ben Burtt. And it's like, that just becomes a character. So it's something, when you're doing sound design, don't be afraid of using your own voice, because the best sound designers in the world do that. It might not be recognizable as their voice, but it gives your personality to the sound design that you're creating. And there's, like, a lot of the gags in Wall-E are driven by the sound, and especially the sound of the robots, like the things they say. There's just things like rogue robots, you know. Sometimes when I see something, like, I'll point at, you know, like gosh, what are those little vacuum cleaners called? We don't have one, but people have these little robot vacuum cleaners. And then in our area, there's like robotic food delivery in some of the bigger towns. So I'll point that out when we drive by it, and the kids will say rogue robots, you know. Or Bernie has his own vocal quirks and everything. And yeah, it's really good. The voice acting is superb. The sound design is obviously really good. The music is good too. It's got, like, kind of an electronic organic, is I guess how I would describe the sound. The Roomba. Thank you. Yeah. So Wall-E's a really good film for sound design. And the fact that the robots have emotions, that's another thing that the voice actors and Ben Burtt and all the people who worked on it, they did a really good job of that. So that's number 9. And I flipped, even though chronologically the next film is earlier than Wall-E. Wall-E's 2008, and this next film is from 2007. I saved it for last because it's probably my favorite movie for sound design, favorite modern movie. It's tough because I even though it's like, it's Disney animation, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is great. It's like probably the rudimentary sound design film. And so this one that we're going to talk about last, the 10th on our list, to me is the culmination of a lot of different things. And it's so far like on the opposite side of the spectrum from Snow White that it kind of makes me laugh. And the film is 2007, No Country for Old Men. Great. The reason I have this as my favorite is because there is almost no music in the entire film. And it's a pretty long film. I think it's over. Let me look this up because I don't want to, and I don't have a Jamie here to look up stuff. No Country for Old Men length. I feel like it's 2 hours and 2 minutes long. And there's a few minutes of music, and that's it. All the rest of the film is told through the actions of the characters. There is dialogue, and there's a lot of sound design. And the cool thing about No Country for Old Men is the ambience of West Texas. Having lived in that part of the country, they got the sound of the wind and the towns and like the convenience store, like all that world building that's done is so real and adds so much to the tension and the dread and the action. Another good thing about it is the Foley. The Foley is very forefront in the mix. The Foley helps tell a lot of the stories for the scenes. Like, you know, waiting for Anton Sugar in the hotel room and you hear the footsteps and they stop. Like, And you can actually hear the footsteps downstairs, which is really cool. And the phone ringing and the sound of the compressed air, cattle thing that he uses to kill people and to pop the lock. The sound of the shotgun echoing on the streets. There's just, every scene has its own sonic character, and it's really worth watching either in your studio or in a theater, which you probably can't really do, but just watching it on a high quality system where you can crank it up to Dolby 7 and appreciate all the work that went into the ambience, the backgrounds, the dialogue editing, the Foley. And the coolest thing about it is it's all grounded in reality. It's not a science fiction movie. It's not an over-the-top action movie, though it has some really intense action sequences. And the pacing of it is a little slower, but it helps you sit down into the mix and into the film and soak it in and just like let it wash over you. It doesn't hit you over the head with a bunch of quick cuts. Like, scenes develop kind of naturally, and it's just probably my favorite movie just for sound. It's not my favorite movie, not my favorite film as like story or anything like that, although it is really good. But for just pure best sounding movies, or my favorite movies for sound, No Country for Old Men is probably number one. So yeah. And I think that's it. I went through everything. Let's talk about maybe some honorable mentions, some movies that you guys think are really good for sound. Just kind of the last, we're at a good point for that. We got about 10 minutes. I got to get to work because I have a show I'm working on, which is, I'm really thankful for. Union. Yeah, so let's just go for the last 8 to 10 minutes and talk about stuff that you guys want to. So let's go through the chat. Let's see. So Alex says horror movies that have great sound design. Yes, I don't like horror films. They're just kind of boring to me. And I've worked on so many of them that I just can't sit through one. I'm not squeamish or anything. Like, the gore doesn't bother me. It's just like, it's not in my blood. So really good to mention horror films, but yeah, I don't really dig them. Signs. Oh yeah. Signs is a really good one. I need to rewatch that. It's probably a little too scary for the kids, but I also kind of like watching them get scared at movies. So Signs might be a good one for when they're a little bit older, but I definitely need to rewatch it. Baby Driver. I think I watched it once. Brandon says, is there a recent movie that you say would make the list? The thing with recent movies is they're a little too fresh to think of objectively. You kind of need them to like season for a little bit, and at least I do, because the novelty of them is like, whoa, that sounded so good. And it's like, it's just because it's new and you haven't seen it multiple times. So for a movie to get on my list, I have to watch it a couple times to get to the level of appreciation. Because honestly, the first time I watch a movie, I'm just watching the story and I'm hopefully not paying attention to the sound very much. If I am paying attention to the sound, then it's probably Star Wars, because the writing is so terrible and the acting is so terrible. So yeah, I try to just like watch it multiple times so I can watch the story, appreciate the story, and then maybe the second time I'll pay more attention to the sound. And then by the third or fourth time, I'm like really listening deep into the mix for like Foley and backgrounds and stuff. Oh yeah, Castaway is such a good... Yeah, Castaway is great. It's another one of those with very little music, and especially the sound of the waves and the wind and just the natural ambience. You can't beat Castaway. Fight Club is another one for ambience. The more industrial, urban ambience in Fight Club is really top notch. Sound of Metal. Yes, Sound of Metal was really good. Good mix. And yeah, the story helped, or the sound helped tell the story. Back to the Future. Interesting. Back to the Future, the sound is good, but I mean, it's kind of just a standard blockbuster sound. It's really good. It's well done. The writing is good. The acting is pretty good. And the sound design helps tell the story, but it's not, I don't feel like it really revolutionized much. It's just good. You know, it's good. It helps the film and it does a job, but it doesn't like stick out head and shoulders above the rest. And it's really hard to pick for a list because there's so many movies that come out and that have, you know, been in the lexicon for decades that how do you pick? You know, this is just my opinion. So it's not like I'm poo-pooing on anybody besides Star Wars. But, you know, people are going to have different things for their list. Master Nelson says, Sinners, Infinity War, War for the Planet of the Apes, Tropic Thunder, Interstellar. I still haven't seen Interstellar, mostly because I've heard the mix had some issues. So, yeah, I can't comment on that. The creature sounds in the recent Godzilla movies. Yes, they are super good. One of my kids loves Godzilla, and they're great. It's just, it makes me laugh to watch two giant kaijus destroying each other and destroying a city because it's just so crazy over the top. I love it. Yeah, really good. And we haven't. TV shows are generally limited by time and budget, so they don't have as much opportunities for the level of details of feature film, but there's some great films for sound design and sound mix. And maybe I'll do another live stream on that someday where we just talk about TV shows, because operating within the constraints of a budget and a timeline and getting something out the door that is revolutionary or at least top notch and sets a high standard is an achievement in and of itself versus having a year to work on sound for a movie. Of course, it's going to be great. You have all the time and all the money in the world, but for a TV show, got to be quick. Yeah, Godzilla -1 is good. Kevin's out of here. Good luck with your meeting. I love Interstellar. Don't care how much people dump on Nolan. Yeah, the thing with Nolan is that it's not so much that he makes the decision to assault people's ears. It's that he doesn't seem to care what other people think about it. And it's kind of a theme. You know, if it was just Interstellar, or just the Batman movies, there's another one he did that was pretty loud and obnoxious, according to reviews. It's the fact that he seems completely uninterested in changing his choices based on the audience's input. And to me, that is not great. The audience is really your customer. You're making a product. And I know we like to think of film as a creative palette or canvas. Canvas is a bit better way. So to have people consistently say, dude, I can't hear what people are saying in your movies, or the music's too loud, or hey man, I'm having to bring earplugs to your films because they're too loud. And the mixers on the dub stage are wearing earplugs too. It's too loud, turn it down, you know, balance things out a little better. And to say, no, I don't care what you think. On the one hand, I respect that. But on the other hand, you are making money making films. So you really need to treat the audience as your customer. And if customers are complaining, then you need to have good customer service and say, okay, well, I'll look into that. At least say that, or I'll take that into consideration, instead of, you guys don't know what you're talking about, I'm going to keep doing this. So yeah, kind of a running theme with some of his films. Tenet, that's what it was. That's what it was. That's exactly the one. Yes. Dune. Yeah, some of these big, you know, tentpole features, like they just go all out for the mix for being loud. And I understand it's an experience for people, but it shouldn't be an experience that damages their ears or makes them cover their ears or make them say, what did he say? What did she say? I can't understand. Or worse yet, turn subtitles on. That's not good. But, you know, if people want to keep mixing that way, people are going to continue having issues with it. And you're just going to have to live with AI remixing the films and people finding out ways to dynamically compress them or basically to change. And that's fine. If that's the way you want to go, let people remix it and your creative intent will just be lost forever. Okay. Superman. Yeah, overall, the big thing people complain about is stuff being too dynamic. The action stuff is too loud and the dialogue is too quiet. So I think most of the films on my list are pretty evenly mixed from what I've experienced. Yeah, really, you can hear, that's probably another running theme on my sound design list is the mix is really good. The mix is balanced. It's dynamic, but it's not overly dynamic. Because I don't remember seeing any of those in theaters and being like, whoa, you know, I couldn't hear that or that was too loud. Because they make good choices with when to be loud and it's just like short, you know, it's not sustained sequences of like -12 full scale white noise because a spaceship has taken off. So yeah, I think I'm good. I think I covered everything I wanted to. Thank you guys so much for your input in the live stream. I'm sure there will be more in the comments. Thank you for listening to my diatribe against Star Wars and channel members for your support. Anybody who watches my videos, subscribers. Thank you also for people who have picked up AutoComp, this auto leveling compressor, which I'm really proud of. This is the second plugin I made and it's been really useful. You've been listening to it the whole stream. So if you're interested in an easy, smart, transparent sounding leveling compressor, check out AutoComp. I'll have a link on the video description. And then also thank you to Cedar for the affiliate link for noise reduction. So this has been probably the best broadband, almost zero latency plugin I've used for broadband noise reduction. And it used to be thousands of dollars. And they've redone their pricing so that's like actually affordable for most people now. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you have ideas for content for next week's stream, please let me know. I will try to tailor the content to what you guys are asking for. And right now I got to sign off so I can clock in, get to work. And, you know, and that allows me also to, when I'm not working, focus a little bit more on live streams and videos, which will happen. But for now, once a week is about all I can manage with the work and the family commitments I have. So I will see you guys next Tuesday at 8 o'clock Pacific US time. And till then, keep your faders up, keep your ears open, and get outside, get some sun. Don't be one of these like, you know, hunched over, glasses wearing, hunchback, you know, pasty, unhealthy vault dwellers. Like get out there when you're not working on your computer, get some sun, move around, get some exercise, because your body, your ears, and your health are going to thank you. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Till then, take care.